Now, from CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to this special one-hour edition of Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede, and with less than 10 days until the election, we focus on this final push by the candidates. One of the major storylines I'll be watching on election night is whether Miami-Dade County, once a stronghold for Democrats, will turn red. In a few minutes, I'll talk to the chair of the Republican Party in Miami-Dade. But first, my interview with Charlie Crist. Fresh off a strong debate performance, I spoke to him about what his final message is to voters.
Well, listen, if you want a governor with a heart that really cares about Floridians and what's best for them for their future, looks out for women's rights and right to choose, very important issue in the race, as you know, Jim. But in addition, affordability is just as important. And right now, we have the rates and the utility bills are going through the roof. Property insurance is a disaster. Even before Ian, it was. Now it's been exacerbated by that. The governor, had a special session, had a regular session to deal with property insurance and failed to do so. Conversely, when I was governor before, we had a property insurance special session and cut rates by 10%. I think that's the kind of leadership that Floridians deserve. That's what they want. And women have a right to make their own decisions about their own body.
It seems that while abortion is a important issue, the economy is the more dominant issue in a lot of elections, not just here, but across the country. Is that your sense? Do you think the economic issues have now outweighed the issue of abortion in this race?
I think both of them are important. And, obviously it depends on who you're talking to. I mean, if you're talking to a woman, I'm pretty sure a woman's right to choose is primarily important. I know it is. And, but, economic issues have always been important in every race. And the economic issues do not favor the governor because what he hasn't done on getting property insurance rates down, what he doesn't done on getting utility rates down through his Public Service Commission that regulates utilities. And every single time any utility in Florida, leading with Florida Power and Light, the biggest one in the state, they've granted every single rate increase. I'll have your back. He never has. It's time for a change. And it's just a few days to go ahead and do it and get that early vote in.
Now, in the debate, probably the most viral moment that came out of the debate was you challenging the governor to commit to serving a full 4-year term. Why did you ask that question, and why do you think that's important, how he didn't respond to the question? Why do you think that's important for voters?
Great questions. Number one, why do I think it's important? He's asking right now for people to vote for him for governor, as am I. So he ought to be willing to commit to say, if in fact he gets reelected, that he would, fulfill a full 4-year term. And as you said, he wouldn't answer it. I mean, he was like silent for 10 seconds on statewide airtime. It was unusual, but I think we know why. The reason is he is going to run for president if he wins in this election, which I don't think is going to happen. But he answered the question by a non-answer. Sometimes no answer is an answer. And I think that's what we saw on display to all the voters of Florida on Monday evening.
One of the things that I really would have liked to have had more discussion on, and I want to give you a chance to talk about, is the environment, particularly Everglades. Governor DeSantis, I think you have to give some sort of credit to the fact that when he came into office, he made funding of Everglades restoration a top priority. I know you worked on this issue as well when you were governor. Compare and contrast how you think you would handle this different, or would you just pick up exactly where the governor left off, the current governor?
I would pick up where I left off. And just to review for your reviewers, we attempted in the middle of the Great Recession to buy over 150,000 acres of sugar land from U.S. Sugar specifically. We had to gear that down because that's when the Great Recession hit. We ended up being able to purchase about 70,000 acres. And the point was simple. It was to restore the natural flow of the water south. So it would be cleaner, would be better. What's the governor done? I think he's trying to build a reservoir south of Lake Okeechobee. Well, that's great. But what's really important is to restore it to its natural state. So you have that natural flow from the Kissimmee River Basin up near Orlando, comes all the way down the spine of Florida into Lake Okeechobee, and then ultimately into the Everglades. And if you restore the natural flow without all the fertilizer, without all the runoff, then that's why buying the land was such an important objective. And I would like to refire that plan.
You talked about the governor taking his eye off the ball when it came to Hurricane Ian as well. Do you believe that he is responsible, that he bears ultimate responsibility for the more than 100 lives that were lost as a result of Hurricane Ian, many of them in Lee County?
Well, he's the leader of our state. He's the governor of Florida, at least for now. And when a hurricane is barreling down on the west coast of Florida, the size and magnitude of what Ian was, you don't go to a high school football game the Friday night before it hits, and then are AWOL for almost 24 hours. And now what happened is local officials were considering to evacuate. The governor should have encouraged them to do that so that those people could have gotten out earlier, instead of having, the huge water swell that we saw that cost so many people, sadly, their life.
You said before you consider Ron DeSantis to be a bully. Explain to me what you mean by that.
Well, I mean, just look how he treated children at a press conference he had because they were behind him and decided they wanted to have masks on just to protect their own health. The governor dressed them down. I mean, in the debate, you may have seen that he called me a pejorative term, I guess. And I said, look, I can take it. But Governor, we all know you're a bully, but you shouldn't do that to children. I mean, if you want to do it to your competitor in a political race, I get it. It's a contact sport, but don't do it to children. And I think that was the most glaring example of his bullying. But he's also done it by taking out a state attorney up in Tampa Bay because he dared to simply say that he disagreed with DeSantis on some issues, or even Disney World, Jim. When he went after them, their special districting that they have, because what they do, they exercise their right to free speech on a piece of legislation that they disagreed with the governor on. And so he tried to bully him. It's just not right. Florida deserves better than that.
Later in the show, we will have more of my interview with Crist, including this question. If this is the last campaign, if you do lose this race, is this the last time you run? But up next, Aramis Ayala, who is challenging Ashley Moody to be Attorney General. Stay with us in this special one-hour edition of Facing South Florida.